How's it going, guys? I'm Theo Joe, and I've got a bunch of cool gadgets for you today. Specifically, we've got 7 of them, all of them under $50. Most of them actually well below that, so they're really affordable. You might not have heard of some of these, but they're all pretty cool and useful. Before we jump in though, I want to quickly thank the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform for easily building a professional-style website for anything from an online store to a photography portfolio, with plenty of tools for marketing, analytics, and more. You can learn more by going to the link in the description. So now, let's get started. So starting off with number 1, and by the way, all of these are going to have links in the description to Amazon so you can check them out. So first off, we have the AMOS USB volume knob, which costs about $35. This one's pretty straightforward. It just lets you adjust the volume of the computer using the physical knob, which I think is a lot easier than always having to click on the volume button or pressing the buttons on the keyboard. You just turn it and it goes up and down. And I think the design of this one looks pretty cool too. It just plugs in via micro USB, so you can use any cable you want. It does come with one, but I wanted to use a really short cable because I didn't need a long one. And you'll notice when you turn the knob, it'll light up this blue light on the bottom, which is kind of cool looking when you use it. And you can also even mute the computer by pressing down on it and then pressing it again to unmute it, so you can both control the volume and just mute too. And when it comes to Windows 10 at least, it automatically was recognized by Windows, which started to automatically install the drivers, so you don't have to go and download them from some website or anything. It should work pretty much right away. Even though this one might seem a bit expensive, $35 just for a USB knob, it actually is pretty good construction. It's all metal and it feels really nice and weighty, so it seems like a quality product at least, and super convenient. It should last pretty much forever, I think. All right, up next we have the Yubico Yubikey 5 NFC version for $45, or alternatively, there's a cheaper security key model for just $20 on Amazon. Now, if you're not familiar with what these keys do, you might have seen them before. They're basically just a physical method of two-factor authentication, where in addition to typing in a password to a website, you also can use either an app to generate one-time codes, or these physical keys where you tap on the side and only the person who has the key with them, which would be you, can log in, which is a really good way to secure a website even if your passwords get stolen. Not every website will support these. Many of the big services do, like Google, Dropbox, Amazon Web Services. Your bank might, it depends, but it's good on a lot of the major services at least. And both of these, even the cheaper model, now support NFC, so you could theoretically use it even with your phone, so you don't have to plug it in. Obviously, you can just use the NFC chip to hold it up your phone, and that's enough to authenticate it. The more expensive Yubikey 5 model that I showed, the black one, does have a few extra features for security authentication methods, so it'll support Yubico's one-time password and some other protocols. But if you are basically just using it for like Google and that sort of thing, the cheaper $20 one, which supports FIDO U2F, that's going to be more than enough probably. So you probably don't need to spend the extra $25, or you could just get multiple of the cheap one. And I should point out, a lot of these websites support multiple methods, so if you don't have your key with you, you can still use like an SMS message or the app generator, that sort of thing. Okay, moving on, we have a piece of hardware that you can put in your computer, which is the Fehb Smart USB PCIe card at about $25. And this is basically just a PCIe card that has USB ports on it, 4 of them to be exact. They're USB 3.0 ports, so that's like up to 5 gigabit speed. So if you're running low on USB ports, you can always add more, assuming you have an extra expansion slot available on your motherboard. And this one in particular does not require an external power source, like connecting it to your PSU, which some cards do. So that's really nice. You can just pop it in, no additional wiring from your power supply. But also keep in mind that is going to limit potentially the amount of stuff you can plug into it and power. So I believe it can draw 8 amps total, which is enough to do most things, most devices. But if, for example, you're going to be plugging another USB hub into this and then running a bunch of stuff off that you might run into problems. You might have to get a powered USB hub, but you should be able to at least run it 4 things off of this, no problem. And because it doesn't require any extra connection to the PSU, you don't have to run any cables, and it should be easy if you're not really familiar with opening up your computer. It's really easy. You just literally stick it in the slot. You don't have to have much knowledge about it. All right, so up next, this one's really cool actually. You might not have seen anything like this before. It's a USB multimeter, and the brand is MakerHawk. And this costs about $25 depending on the model of the one you get. But anyway, what this basically does is you plug this into any USB port, and then when you plug whatever other device into this, it'll show you all sorts of information about how much power the device is drawing. It's a multimeter. So you can see on the screen how much info it's going to show there, and it shows things like the voltage and amps being drawn from the device, the wattage, and also the total milliamp hours and milliwatt hours drawn. So if you're like, I wonder how much exactly the battery of my phone has been charged, you can show it on here and see if it kind of matches up. Might not be exact because it's probably a calculation, but still neat. And there's even a few different screens you can flip through, so it'll show a lot of the similar info just differently. And there's even one with a actual real-time graph showing the power drawn, so that might be kind of cool if you're wondering if like the power is staying constant or maybe it's fluctuating, then you can see that. I would say this is just a cool thing for people who are interested in electronics. Not really sure how this might come in handy day-to-day use, but it might. Like maybe if you're, I don't know, trying to see if your phone is actually fast charging or not, you can see the different amps and wattages coming onto the phone. Or maybe you're trying to test out different wall chargers and see if some are faster than others, and maybe see if one's not working correctly, something like that. There are a few different versions of this multimeter. So there's one that has the USB-A, which is here, and this one's also Bluetooth. And there's also one with USB-C, so you can get whichever one you want. And also the Bluetooth one apparently does have an Android app they can connect to, but you have to download it separate from the App Store from like some link they give you. So I don't know, it's kind of sketchy, but I don't know, if you really want the app, then you can get it. But anyway, again, I think it's just a cool thing you might want to check out. All right, before we continue, let me tell you about today's sponsor, Squarespace. Like I mentioned before, Squarespace is an all-in-one platform that makes it extremely easy to set up a domain and website, even if you've had no prior experience with that sort of thing. You can pick from any of the template designs to start with, and there are plenty of categories for whatever type of website you want to create, from an e-commerce site to a blog, a local business, a personal portfolio, just to name a few. And there are a lot of powerful back-end tools as well for things like appointment scheduling right through your website, customizable email campaigns, and of course analytics to see things like traffic sources, page views, and time on site. If you're interested, you can check out squarespace.com/TheoJoe for a free trial and save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. And that link will also be in the description. So now, let's continue. All right, so up next, this is gonna be a multi-parter actually, and this is gonna be good for anyone who ever works with electronics, like maybe you're building a computer and you know how you're supposed to ground your wrist so you don't introduce static shock into any components and damage it, but sometimes it can be difficult to correctly do this. So the things we're gonna be talking about here are the StaticTech grounding adapter plug and the Bertech grounding block mount, and together these are about 25 bucks. So this grounding plug is pretty cool. You might be able to tell exactly what it does just by looking at it, but it's basically a plastic piece that plugs into an AC outlet in the wall, but the two prongs for the normal positive and negative prongs are just plastic, so they're not conducting electricity, but there is an actual metal plug that goes into the ground outlet plug, and that passes through to the back where there's a banana outlet. And then this grounding block thing is basically just a really long cable that you will attach to the grounding plug in the outlet, and then it also has some ports for grounding that you can plug your actual wrist strap into. So you can mount this on a table, you can just have it sitting there, whatever, and it makes it easy to run the cable, so you don't have to just have a super long cable connected directly to the wrist strap, which might be kind of annoying to maneuver and stuff like that. I will point out though that on the end of this long cable they actually put a ring terminal, which doesn't go directly into this outlet correctly, so you might need like a banana plug like one of these and then just kind of stick it through so it can make contact, or you can use like maybe an alligator clip to banana plug adapter, something like that, but you will need some way to connect it actually. So maybe you don't need the grounding block thing, but at least the plug outlet might be pretty useful if you want to be sure that you're correctly grounding something. Now you know you're literally plugging it directly into the ground on the wall. All right, this next one is pretty cool. I didn't even know this existed, but when I saw it, I realized how useful it might be. And it's the so-called ACE-UN, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, Universal Barrel Plug Power Adapter Kit. And this is basically just a collection of pretty much every possible barrel plug power adapter out there in existence. So if you've ever lost a power plug for some device, or like the power adapter that plugs into the wall, something like that, and you're like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna ever use this again because it was some obscure weird barrel plug, well, now you can get this adapter kit and it'll probably have the one you need. For all of these on the female end, they have a 5.5 by 2.1 millimeter female jack on the bottom, so you probably will want to spend the extra $6 on the USB adapter cables for that specific barrel plug that are sold separately but on the same listing. So anything basically that is lower than 5 volts 2 amps that can be powered by USB, you can just use the USB to that plug adapter, plug on the actual adapter, and use it to power the device. So this probably wouldn't work for something that's super high powered like a laptop that's pulling a lot more than 2 amps, but there are so many things out there that are powered by these random barrel plugs that you never know what size it is, and it's almost impossible to get a universal one that's gonna power everything, so this could come in real handy. All right, now finally, we have the Allen phone tripod mount for about $7. This one's pretty self-explanatory. It's just a tripod mount for a phone, and it has a 1/4 inch screw that you can put onto pretty much any tripod, and then it also has this adjustable screw that expands it, so it'll fit pretty much any phone, no matter how big it is. It'll fit the biggest phones on the market today. And of course, you can rotate it to be either horizontal or vertical, however you want. And considering the price, it seems to be reasonable build quality. It's obviously all plastic, but it seems to be sturdy enough, so I think it's a pretty decent deal. So with that, those are all the different 7 gadgets, all under $50. So I'll put all those links again in the description. And I also want to thank Squarespace again for sponsoring this video. That link will be in the description as well. Now, if you want to keep watching, another video I made recently, which was pretty fun, was answering the question, what if you delete the Windows folder on your computer? Obviously, it's going to break it, but you can see this video and see exactly what happens. It's pretty fun, so you can just click that when it pops up right here. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.